Okay, let's try this. 178 days. Now, we heard Arctic Wolf give you 206. I heard this morning, another show that I was at, 241 days. Regardless of, depends on whose numbers you're looking at, whether it's IBM, Verizon, but the number of days on average a typical customer takes to identify a breach is unsustainable. Even at 178 days, which is probably best case, that's just way too long. Now it takes another 70 days beyond that 178 to remediate, and that's way too long. That's over 2 months for you as a customer to have to worry about cleaning up the muck that took you 178 days to find. Now the one stat you don't hear about is the majority of customers, in this study anyways, it wasn't them themselves who found the breach. It was a third party, it could be CSIS, it could have been the FBI, a business partner, but most customers themselves don't even find the breach. It's somebody else. Maybe just hit the space bar. Now here's another interesting stat. 15 minutes. That's all it takes from the release of a CVE until it's operational and weaponized by a hacker. And the way they can do that in such little amount of time is because AI. AI and automation are the holy grail to the hacker. And so we're now seeing, like I said, a CVE within 15 minutes being weaponized. That's not a whole lot of time for you as a customer to have your systems patched and ready to go. Now here's another interesting stat. So this, anybody heard of Bishop Fox? Kind of a higher end sort of reverse engineering, malware consulting sort of group. Google uses them a lot for code review and stuff like that. They got together with SANS and they basically took what I would consider a higher end sort of group of pen testers and hackers and said, here's an asset, IP address basically, go hack it. And how fast, and then they measured how fast they could actually break into the system, steal the crown jewels and get out. 60% of them were able to do it in less than 5 hours. The other 40% did it in less than 2. So it's not a lot of time to react. So our current approach to detection and containment is obviously not enough. So what do we do? Well, actually, let's take a step back. Let's talk a little bit about why some of the reasons for this. So one of them is challenged. Okay, we're good? One of them is detecting attackers is challenging. 0 days, I kind of mentioned the whole 15 minutes of a CVE. How do you keep up? Manual processes that many of us are still dealing with are just antiquated. When attackers are using AI and automation, we have to be able to keep up. The other big one is security teams being overstretched. Whether it's false positives that they're being hit with all day long, too many alerts, not enough staff. This is another huge issue that makes cybersecurity so hard today. The other big one is legacy systems. And not so much just legacy systems, but things that don't play well with our standard tool sets. So think of things like OT, industrial control systems, IoT networks. Think of medical devices on a healthcare network. We can't just put an agent on these things. Even putting a firewall in front of them. Like you go talk to an electrical grid customer and you talk to him about putting a firewall in front of his electrical PLCs and have a conversation about trying to shut things down when we detect malware, right? So these sort of things just don't lend themselves well to how we as IT people have really implemented security. So this is where deception technology comes to the rescue. And so deception technology is about diverting attackers to fake assets. It's about uncovering somebody who's already in your network. So I sometimes equate this to when this is sort of your last stand when all other controls have failed. So what we do with deception is we create things such as decoys, lures, breadcrumbs. These are things like a fake SAP server or a fake Cisco router or a fake Active Directory server, fake credentials, cache credentials. There's hundreds of them, and we could spend hours talking about what those look like exactly. But it's a way for us to draw out the attacker when he's already on your system, and we don't really have any other method of catching them. Go ahead. So here's how it kind of works in a nutshell. So we have, go ahead and let it play out. So we have an attacker. Somehow he got into the network. We don't know why, we don't know how from this scenario, but the point being he somehow got through the email filter, he got through the firewall, but for whatever reason there's malware, there's a rat sitting on an asset somewhere, maybe on a laptop. And so from here, what happens is this attacker starts to then go to look to see what other crown jewels are in the network. So he's on your workstation, but obviously the workstation isn't what he's really after. This is just his pivot point. So now he's looking into the network to see, well, where's the database? Where's the crown jewels? Where's maybe some credentials that I can go steal so I can log into some cool stuff? And so what we do with the decoys is we plant a fake asset, a fake Active Directory, a fake credential that he'll eventually find and try to use. As soon as he touches that credential or that fake decoy, that's when the game is up. Now we've found him, because as soon as he interacts with that asset, we know we have a nefarious actor on the network. Now what we can do with AI and automation specifically is we can then go talk to the control mechanisms that we have in place. So if we had a FortiGate at the edge, or a Palo, or a Cisco, or a checkpoint, we can then alert those gateways to cut off that command and control channel that the bot master is using to control that rat that's on the network. Go ahead. We can also do things even a bit cooler. So working with things like network access control, we can take that workstation and we can actually put them on a quarantine VLAN. We can work with the endpoint to nuke them off the network completely from the agent perspective. So there's a lot of automation integration that can go into deception. Go ahead. So where some of the use cases where deception becomes quite valuable. So we talked about OT. This is where we just don't have any other good option available to us. No agent or endpoint. Lateral movement. This is where we probably do the least amount of security in typical environments. So when this guy's moving around left to right, segment to segment, deception technology helps uncover that threat. And threat hunting. So all of the stuff this user is doing, the IPs he's coming from, any files he's using to upload or interact with this deception or these lures, all of that we can take and convert into an IOC that we can then feed into SIM, SOAR, or any of our other threat hunting tools. And so that's it in a nutshell. I'm up. So there you go. If you got any questions, try to hit me up after. And I'm buying 1 beer per vote. So if you vote more than once,